Welcome to A New Breed of Golf Live. Michael Breed, so excited on a Friday to be able to get your game in shape for what is going to be a great weekend. So any questions that you've got, make sure you send those along to me in the chat. You can also email me at anewbreedofgolf@michaelbreed.com. Before we get to this short game instruction and little thoughts that I'm going to share with you, I want to remind you of a couple of little different things. Course record coming up on Monday. We've got Jerry Rice is going to be with us. Also, Chris Finn. Those of you that listen to the radio show on Sirius XM every Monday through Friday, you know Chris Finn. He joined us on Friday. He's going to also be here in the studio on Monday. So he's going to be with us. And we're hoping to get Cameron Young. Now, not sure that we're going to be able to do that just yet, but we're working on that. So we've got a lot of stuff planned for you on Course Record. That will be on Monday on CBS Sports Network. Now, as well, we've got our logo contest that's going on. And the logo contest has been fantastic. Greg Ducharme is with me, as is Steve Gibbs. And Greggy D, when you look at the logo contest, it was kind of it came as sort of a surprise, didn't it? The outcome, the last one, and now we've got a really good one going today.
Yeah, Purgatory was a big surprise because we had a comeback, and you don't typically see a comeback in this kind of environment because the earlier you see that tweet,
momentum,
it's momentum. But we saw a comeback. Purgatory took down Olympia Fields, and today Bethpage State Park, the black course, of course, is taken on a course from England whose name is escaping me. Southport. Southport.
It's New South. Is it Southport?
Yeah.
Portsmouth.
It's
you know what? We'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out.
That's what we'll do. We'll figure it out. All right. So we have that. And also, too, by the way, we have our logo poker chips. So if you're interested in getting the logo poker chips, you're going to send an email to anewbreedofgolf@michaelbreed.com. We have them now in blue and green. We've sold out of the reds. We're probably going to order some more, but a lot will depend on how many blue and green that we've got left. So we've got that as well. Who is it?
Port Stewart Golf Club.
Port Stewart. That's
right.
My apologies. Port Stewart. Okay. All right, so make sure that you get onto, if you want to vote on our best logo in the world, if you want to do that, jump over to Twitter, follow me at Michael Breed, and you can make your vote on there. Now, I know we've already got a ton of questions that we're going to get to, and it's great, excited. I'm not kidding you. Well, I'm sure you all know me. I get fired up to do these, and it was an idea, and it seems like you all are enjoying it, so we're going to continue to do it. You're going to bear with me today, by the way. I had a little knee thing, so I'm hitting some short shots. How far did you set this up, by the way?
30 yards.
30 yards. So we'll hit some 30-yard, 40-yard, 50-yard shots, answer some of your questions, but you're not gonna give me a little shot if I don't execute the shot properly or if my follow-through looks a little bit different today because I'm favoring my knee. Like I said, meniscus surgery about a week ago. I'm just kind of coming out of this. I'm doing a lot of icing. This is not an excuse. It's just an explanation. If something doesn't go that way, it's Greg's fault, not mine. Okay, so I want to talk to you about the most important part of hitting a short shot, in my opinion, is understanding this club face. Now, we talk about the face being an important part of putting. It's a vitally important part of short shots. And the establishment of the face at address and the controlling of the face at address is vital in being able to execute a shot. I'm going to show you what I mean. So this is a 30-yard shot. I've got a 54-degree wedge that I have bent to 53. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit shots square-faced and open-faced. And then also, too, I'm going to hit some shots where I shut faces during the strike and I open faces during the strike. And I want you to see what happens with these numbers. So this is just a square-face shot, 30 yards. So that shot comes out. Nice little release to it. Actually pretty good. I got it to 30.3. Now, let's come on up here and let's just look at these numbers. The first thing that you're going to look at is you're going to look at this backspin number. That backspin number was about 5,300. That's one of the reasons why that ball, when it hit, it released a bit. In fact, it landed at 25 and it rolled out 5 yards. So 15 feet was the rollout that we had in that shot. And I think one of the reasons why you struggle with your short shots is you don't think about, like, you shoot it with a laser and you go, I got 30-yard shot, but you don't know what your rollout is. You don't have predictability in how far this ball is going to release. And part of the reason is that you don't identify your game with a golf ball. I'm going to tell you, you know me a while. I'm a Titleist guy. I'm a Pro V1X guy. But if I switch to a different ball, if I switch to a Pro V1 or I switch to an AVX, those golf balls will spin a little bit differently, and I have to have different landing areas. So if I'm going to go square face, which I never do, I've got to allow for a 25, for a 30-yard shot, I've got to allow for 25 of it in the air and 5 of it on the ground. That's what I'm doing with my 53-degree wedge. That ball had about a 12-foot apex, launched at about 32 degrees. The descent angle was 35.5. We'll get into this a little bit. Really what I'm paying attention to is what's my backspin, what's my launch angle, what's my carry distance, what's my total distance. Now, I come over here now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit an open face shot. 5,300, 25, and 30 with about, we'll just call it 32-degree launch angle. Now I'm going to take this club and I'm going to open up this club face. So this is a little bit more open. I'm going to say it's probably 2 or 3 degrees, which I'm going to explain in a little bit. I caught that just a little bit thin, but I want you to see what happens with that shot. Now, because it was thin, my launch angle is going to go down. What you're going to find when you open up the club face, you're not really, unless you open it up massively, you're not really going to affect that launch angle too much. But what you are going to affect is the spin of that golf ball. That spun at about 7,100. Now, again, I hit a little farther than I wanted to. Guilty as charged. I was trying to get that to go about 27. That was what I was hoping to do. That went 30, call it 34, rolled out to 37. So what I did was I created much more spin, and as a result of the spin, the ball didn't roll out as much. Remember we talked about the descent angle? That other one was at 35.5. That's 35.6. It's not a big difference. So when you start thinking about the face, I don't want you to think about the face like really altering the launch angle. I don't want you to think about the face really changing the descent angle. What I want you to think about is how it's going to affect the spin. If I hit this shot with a closed face release in here, so I'm going to come through, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let the toe cross the heel. This ball will launch a little bit to the left and it will spin a whole lot less. It's going to roll out a whole lot more. Okay, so in here like this. So I spun that over. Now look at how that ball rolled out. So come in here, and now remember the other one that I hit, which was square-faced, I landed at 25. This landed at 26. The 25 rolled out to 30. The 26 rolled out to 37. That had 11 yards of rollout. Why? 3,600 RPMs of spin versus 52 versus 71. What that means is, and why you struggle with your short game is, you don't have control over the face. Now, I can use that to be of an assist if I want. I can go, I have a back flag. I got to go up a tier. I'm going to put a little release in that, take some spin out and let it roll. But the point is that when you start thinking about controlling the face, what happens to you is what you're controlling is spin. You're not necessarily affecting the launch angle, though you will affect the horizontal launch angle. So that horizontal launch angle on that one, that thing went 2.4 to the left. Now, remember the other ones were at about 31 or 32. That thing's at 29. So you're talking about 2 degrees. Not a big difference. Not a big difference at all. But the spin is different. And as a result, the spin taking out, when I take out that spin, that ball releases more. And that's one of the reasons why you don't have predictability, because you don't think about controlling the face. So if I get in here now, and now what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to control the face in an open fashion. So I'm going to do a little different release here, and I'm going to add some spin. And this will, believe it or not, this will have some effect on my launch angles, but it should affect my spin rate. I caught it fat. I'm not going to lie. I caught that fat. I can't do that. This is a hard one for me because this is where my knee starts to. Okay, I got that one. Okay, now come on over here. So remember, 25, 30, 26, 37. This is 25. 24.6 is 25, and 26 is 27. So that rolled out about 6 feet. And what I did was I did a little bit of a different release. And all of a sudden, when I did that little different release, I got a higher launch angle, 41 degrees, and I got added spin, 66. How did that happen? What did I do? Well, what I do on that release is I take my trail hand, I throw it down, but I don't let the toe spin. I throw it down, and I keep the face open. So you're too close in there, Gibbsy. Yeah. So when I throw it open, I'm keeping that club face like that as it comes through there. So you're just kind of slicing underneath it. So you go like this, you chuck it here, which is why you get a different launch angle. You chuck it here, and then you throw it so that your wrist actually goes into that fashion there, that bend. And it ends up right there. So now that one's a shorter shot. Flew 17, rolled out 19. So again, a 6 feet. And the spin rate on that one was at about 5,600. So those are my different releases. And that's how I'm controlling that club face. And what I can promise you is that you have to be able, when you hit these shots, you have to think about what you're doing with controlling the face. Now, it's not just what you're doing in that opening. It's also what you're doing with shaft lean. So if I get in here, and I set up with the shaft basically forward. So I'll say handle ahead of the club head, and you could do it in a variety of different ways. You can do it with weight distribution. You could do it with moving the ball back. You could do it with widening your stance, but taking a step forward. Instead of widening your stance and taking a step back, you take a widened stance and step forward. That in effect is also moving the ball back. All these little different things that you can do so that when you come in here, you're hitting this, the handle is ahead of that. And now all of a sudden what it does is it traps out. The spin rate, believe it or not, is still roughly the same on a square face. That's going to be 5,300. But what I did was I lowered my launch angle now. So come on up here and let me explain this to you again. So what I did on that one was all I did was I just set the handle a little forward, trap down on that so that when I hit it, there's less loft on the face. The spin rate is basically the same, 5,300. However, what I get is I get a lower launch angle. That's 24 degrees instead of the 32 degrees. It landed at 26 and rolled out to 32.5. So I got a little bit more roll out of that. And the reason why is that my descent angle, which was 35 and change, is now 27. So this is coming in like this. It still has the same spin rate, but because it's flatter, it gets wiped off a little bit more and it rolls out a bit farther. And so those are different things that you have to pay attention to. So in your pre-swing stuff here, what you want to be thinking about is what type of shot do I want to hit, and how is that club face going to affect what I'm trying to do? It's vital for you. As a rule, here's what I like to see in my short shots, okay? As a rule, I want my club face a little bit open. I always call it 5 after. Just because that's what I look at that and go, okay, that's just past noon. So I like opening that up like that. I like playing my ball position sort of in the middle of my stance, and I tend to lean a little bit forward. So middle of the feet, but because I'm leaning forward, it's a little bit back in my stance. So I'm in here like this, club face is open. I'm not really trying to alter anything with different releases. I'm trying to keep the club face relatively not square, but the same when it comes through, so that when I hit my shot, I have some degree of predictability. And when I do that, here's what I tend to get. I tend to get a spin rate that's about 6,000 on a shot like this. It's about 6,000. And what that rollout will produce, well, let me show you. So I get about 12 feet of rollout is what I typically am going to get. I'm going to get, it's not quite 10%. It's a little bit stronger than 10%. On a shot like this of 30, I'm going to get about 12 feet of rollout. That's my prediction. So I landed that at 31. It rolled out to 35. The spin rate was at 5,800. So right around 6,000. I get vertical launches that will vary between say 32 and 28. That's pretty much what I'm getting in my standard shots. And that's how I can have a little bit of consistency in what I'm doing. So whenever I see my yardage, I've got 30. I try to key into where do I want to putt from. try to key into the identification of the lie, which is a very, very important part of being able to execute shots around the green consistently. So what is the lie? What's the angle of the ground? What's the growth of the grass? Where's the grass growing to? All that stuff. I'm putting that all in there. And then what I'm doing is I'm literally getting the image in my mind. Okay, I want an uphill putt. So if I'm hitting into this is not going to roll out. I'm hitting into a hill like this. It's not going to roll out a whole lot. So I might land this at 25 so that it doesn't roll to 30, because I want to keep it short of the flag. If I have to make it, different issue. But if I need to get this up and down, I'm looking at the number, and I'm always thinking of a number less than the number. If it's 30, I'm thinking 25. If it's 40, I'm probably thinking 35, 32 right in there. Because what I'm doing is I always want that uphill putt. If I need to be to the right, I'm going to make sure it's to the right. If I need to be to the left, make sure it's to the left. It's not going to break a whole lot. That ball's rolling for 12 feet. That's the other thing that happens to you all when you play these short shots. What I see most times when you're playing short shots is you think about the break from where you're standing, not from where you're landing. So if I am hitting a shot of 30 yards and I look at the terrain, so I stand back here like this and I'm looking at the terrain. This is a flat piece of property. But many times people will go, well, this is going to break about 6 feet. And the reason why you think that it's a 6-foot break is because when you stand here, if you were putting it from 30 yards, which you're not, you're now seeing all the terrain. Your brain just sees all of it. You don't think about it, but that's what you're seeing. And all of a sudden you start to play this enormous amount of break. And then when you hit the shot, you go, okay, well, I've got to aim this way up to the left because this is going to break down to the right. But what you forget is it's only rolling out 12 feet. And it's not going to break 6 feet with 12 feet of roll, unless you're playing Augusta National, which I hate to say, but you're probably not. And then at that point, it's a different, you're so nervous you can't even take a lofted club out of here. Now you actually are going to putt. But what ends up happening is this: you get in here, you see this shot, and you go, okay, I got to aim 12 feet. I got to aim over here to the left because this is going to break. So you hit your shot over there, and all of a sudden it doesn't break, and you're left with a downhill putt. And then you hit that by about 4 feet, and then you're sweating on the comebacker. Don't play the break when you're hitting these shots. Don't play the break from where you're landing, from your standing. Play it from where you're landing. And typically for me, there's not enough break for me. I aim everything at the flag. I mean, literally, I aim everything at the flag. It's a rare time I'm aiming away from the flag. Okay, so focus on what you're doing with the face. Now, I got a whole lot of stuff to get to, but before we do that, got to throw it over to Greg. I know you got some questions, and we need an update as to what's going on. So give me an update or give me a question here.
Okay, quick Honda Classic update. While we're at it, Daniel Berger is leading the way. He's 5 under on his round, 10 under total. Chris Kirk is right behind him.
He's making everything he looks at.
Yeah,
Kirk is.
He really is. He's 2 under for the day, 7 under total after 65, just like Berger yesterday. Kurt Kitayama hasn't gone yet. Rory Sabatini hasn't gone yet. They'll go a little after 1 o'clock here this afternoon. Chase Seifert, your boy, is at 4 under par total.
Guy.
He's in 5th. We got Peter Uihlein even for the day.
Hey, what time does Cam Young tee off, by the way? Is he like 12:50 or
12:40?
Yeah,
12:40. Yeah,
okay.
We'll be watching him closely.
Okay, good. All right, give me a
question time. This one comes from Macy. It goes right along to many of the things you were just talking
Terrific.
about. Hate the idea of opening the face for chip shots. When I try that, I catch the ball somewhere around the equator and blade it off the green. I know press, stance, and ball position, none matter to me. I blade it. I don't want to blade it, so I play square face all the time. Open face shots are level 10 difficulty.
Okay, so Macy, I'm going to try to convince you about how to do these open face chip shots, okay? So what you're going to do is this. You're going to grip this club open face. But now I need a down the line shot here, Gibbers. What I want you to do when you go open face is I want you to just put the toe in the ground, okay? Lift the heel up a little bit. So you're going to stand a little closer to this. I like to use, by the way, a putting grip. So I like to use my putting grip. So I get in there like this, and all I'm doing is I'm making a putting. We're going to have a little putting stroke. And when I do this, what I'm doing is I'm pushing with my trail hand. Okay? So you're in here like this. Push the trail hand. Hit it on the toe. Push the trail hand. Now, here's the fun part about this shot. One, when you push, you can, where are you going? Where are you taking me? Okay. So when you push, what you can do is you can hit into the ground. Okay, so give me a 5 shot, but bring it right into the ground if you could, Gibbers. Just steer that thing, just drop it right down to the ground. There you go. Now, what you're going to see is that when I come in here, my impact point's going to happen right around my trail foot here. But it'll stay along the ground and it won't dig. And the reason why it won't dig is because I only have one point of contact, and that's this. And with the open face, when it glides in, it's going to glide along the ground. It's not going to dig into the ground. So you don't have to worry about hitting it thin. You can hit it fat. And when you hit it fat, now all of a sudden, it's going to glide along the ground. Don't worry about it. I know. It's easy. Open face, on the toe, get close, push the trail hand, hit it fat. And you're going to you'll hit a fine, predictable shot where with my 9-iron that I'm hitting, I typically on that shot, I'm counting on a 30% air and a 40% roll. So, which this is about right. 30% air, 70% roll. Sorry, 30% air, 70% roll. So this one here is out about 5.5 and it rolls out to about 13.2. So quick math will just round up. So it's 15, 16 feet in the air, and then it's almost 45 feet on the ground. So that's kind of what it is. So when I hit a short shot with my 9-iron, what I'm going to do is if I have a 30-yard shot with a 9-iron, which I never would hit with a 9-iron, but if I have a 30-yard shot with a 9-iron, I probably have to land this thing 10, I'm going to say about 10 yards. See if I can get close to landing this 10 yards. And then it will typically roll out. So that one there, that was about 50-50. So I caught that a little bit open face. That thing is going to have a little bit more backspin than a normal world. And the greens are probably running at about 9 today. We didn't cut them. You know, CPG has been busy, so he hasn't had a chance to get over here. He's working on 3-Jack National. He hasn't had a chance to come over here and cut the greens. All right, Greg, go ahead.
This one's from Mickey. Why is your 53-degree wedge bent to? Why is your 54 bent to 53? Excuse me.
Okay, so the reason why I do that is, first of all, that's my primary wedge that I use. I'll use a 58. So my wedge makeup is 46 pitching, 53 on my I'll call it sand, and then my lob is 58. Now, if I go 54, if I go 46, 54, 58, I feel like I'm missing a club. There should be a 50-degree wedge in there. When I go to 53, I know it sounds ridiculous, and I'm toying around with the idea this year of going to a 52. That's what I'm thinking about doing, just going to 52-degree wedge so that I go 46, 52, and 58. That's what I'm toying around with. Not sure the experiment is still going, but my point is that 1 degree for me, it helps pick up a little gap. So in other words, my pitching wedge, when I hit my pitching wedge full, it's about 135. And when I hit my 53 full, that's about, I can stretch it to 120, but it tends to spin a little more than I want. So I'm at about 115. So there's a 20-yard gap in there. And then my 115 to my 58, which is a 95. So I got about a 20-yard gap in there. So I gap those wedges out right now at 20 yards. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do going forward, but that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to fit my gaps or figure out what my gaps are. And for some reason at 53, I can get it to 115 pretty comfortably. I know how to do that. And so that's why that's that way.
Next one from Frank. How much does clubhead speed affect the spin rate?
So clubhead speed affects spin, but loft affects spin more. So I'll give you an idea. If I have a clubhead speed of, I'm going to make some numbers up here for you just so that you understand. If I have a clubhead speed that is producing a ball speed of 150 miles an hour. Okay, so imagine I've just got 150 miles an hour ball speed. My clubhead speed has created that. With a driver, in order for me to be able to create 150 miles an hour of ball speed, I'm going to have a driver speed, the swing speed of about, say, 102 to 105, depending upon where you strike it in the face. But we'll assume center face strike. So we're right in that 102 to 105. That'll create 150 miles an hour of ball speed. If I take that with a driver, the spin rate will be at about 2,400. If I do that same thing with a 6-iron, like Bryson DeChambeau, do it with a 6-iron, club head speed is going to be roughly the same, probably a little bit more, but roughly the same. But because there's more loft in that 150 miles an hour of ball speed, it won't go as the same distance. It won't go as far because there's more apex, there's more spin rate that happens in there because of the loft. So if I take a driver that is moving at 100 miles an hour with 4 degrees of loft, and I take a driver that has that's moving at 100 miles an hour that has 12 degrees of loft, the 12-degree lofted driver is going to spin the ball more than the other one. And so as a result of all that, you're going to get varying distances, though the speed of the club is the same. Ball speed's really important. Spin rate's really important. Launch angle is really important. That all factors into all that.
This from Chad. When I open the face, I sometimes hit the old hosel rocket. How do I address that?
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back to my 54 now. Givers, this is going to require a little down the line thing. Okay. So what we have to remember when we're making any swing at all is that the swing is on an arc. So the club, when it goes back, it's arcing a little to the inside as it goes up. And when it comes through, it's arcing a little to the inside as it moves through. So we always want to have this idea of this, okay? If I have no golf ball here, and we'll call this the target line. I call it the strike line, but whatever. What I want to have the image of is that the head of the golf club and the shaft of the golf club are never on this side of this noodle. They always are working in here. So when I see somebody open up the club face, what you do when you open up the club face, you go like this. You actually bring the hosel nearer to the strike line. So you go like this. Now I twist it and go like that. Look at the hosel, how it nears see this. Great job, Gibbsy. So if I take this like this and I go like this, now you can see how that hosel gets close to that strike line. Perfect demonstration right there. So what that means is this. Because of taking the hosel when you open it up and nearing the ball or the strike line, now what you have to do is in your swing, get it away from that. So what I like to see happen in the down the line is open face. I want to see the handle and the hands move more around like that. So I'm coming in here with an open face. I'm trying to avoid the hosel. I'm going to pull across that. Now, what that's going to do when you pull across it is you're going to add even more spin. So come on over here so I can show you a couple of these things that happens when you do this. So this is my 53 again. I opened up the club face, which remember at the very start, square face, 5,200, had a bunch of 52s, 53s. Then we did some different releases. But this time I opened it up, but I altered my path. So now I came across like this. Spin rate went up to about 7,000. What also happened when we did that was my launch angle came down to about 29. Remember I said to you before that it kind of varies between 28 and then 32. A lot depends on what I'm doing with my path at this point. What type of shot am I hitting? That's more of a cut shot. So that ball started to the left 1.2. Its side spin now was almost 1,400 to the right. It doesn't slice. Doesn't stay in the air long enough to slice. That slice adds some backspin, and that backspin is going to help stop the ball better. So that one there landed at 24.6. Call it 25 because it's just easier math. This thing here rolls out to 29.3. Let's call it 29. So now that rolled out, let's say 3 feet less. Simple. So 25, 29, 3 feet less, a little bit more spin, a little bit of a lower launch angle. And when the ball comes down on the ground, it's not coming down. Remember, the other one was 35.5. This one is now 32.5. So we create a little bit of a different shape in the shot. We add some spin. It stops a little bit shorter than if you went square face and moved it down the line. So again, back to that other thing. If you want to open the club face, which I want you to do, then be comfortable with the idea of letting that handle whip around to the left-hand side or to your pull side there. Okay? Okay.
This is from Michael. Do these concepts of face and spin, etc., apply to less lofted clubs in pitching, like 9 or 8 irons? I ask because pitching with high lofted clubs typically doesn't end well for me.
Okay. We are now, Michael, we are now taking a step into short game 301, 401. Will it have an effect? Yes, it will have a big effect. Here's the problem. You're not even going to believe this. Greg, you know what? Put a trace on this for me. So here's what's going to happen with this shot. When you hit this shot and you open face and you pull across this with an 8 iron, which still can work, what it will do is it will tend to get a ball to chisel and release to the toe side of the club. So if I'm hitting a little shot here and I open face it and I pull across, I don't know if you're going to see this. You'll see that thing jump up into the air. It also rolls out quite a bit. But what happens is because there's so much less backspin, the spin ratio, which is the relationship of the backspin to the side spin, it jumps up here. Almost, this one here was almost a third. So I have 1,300 RPMs of right spin, and I've got 3,800 RPMs of backspin. So what happens to that ball, and if you, Gibbsy, can pull that screen full, what you're going to see is that golf ball, it curved to the right, but then it rolled to the right as well, which is weird. Like it hits and then it jumps to the right and then it will continue to jump to the right. And the reason why is that because there's not as much backspin, it doesn't get wiped off as quickly. The side spin keeps chiseling the ball over to the right-hand side. Now, this is something that you got to experiment with because you can't believe how effective this can be. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's go to a down the line shot, okay? Let's say, for the sake of argument, you know what I got to do? I got to tell a story. I'm going to tell you a story. So I'm playing golf one day with my boss, Daryl Kestner, who is one of the best human beings on the planet, but he also has one of the best short games that you've ever seen. And we're playing at a place called Deepdale Golf Club. And you know what? I think I'm going to draw. You guys love the draw. Nobody's in a rush. Let's draw. So here's what happens. We've got a green like that. And Daryl's ball is right here. And there's a slope in the green that's right there. And the hole location is right here. And the more you play the shot up the hill, the slope is probably 6 feet like this. The more you play the shot up the hill, the farther it's going to release down into here. And so what Daryl does is Daryl takes his wedge, he turns the wedge in like this, and he hooks it. And the ball hits. So it lands about here. It hooks up the hill, but because the hill is fighting it, it doesn't go up the hill. It spins into the hill. So the spin is fighting the slope. And by the time it gets to where it's wiped all the side spin off, the ball's right about here. So it's not way up here, but it's only rolling down this hill ever so slightly. So what he did was he narrowed the amount of slope that was in there. He stole some green speed out and he eliminated some of this drop off, and the ball kind of went round like this and went over here to about 7 feet was the most remarkable shot I've ever seen. I'm not kidding you. It was the most eye-opening shot that I had ever seen. Now, what you're going to find out as you start to mess around with this, and we talk about face and controlling spin, and not just backspin, but side spin, all of a sudden what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to fight slopes. So if I have a slope that's going right to left and it's severe, I will take a club like a 9-iron or 8-iron. I'll hit a little cut shot into this, which will fight slope, and it'll fight the slope and it'll straighten the shot out. So if you pull that full again, Gibbsy, you can see how much I curved that, how much that thing hit and kicked to the right. That's what you can end up doing. I'm gonna bring this back up here and bring that to there. So let's do this, and then we'll do this. Okay. So what I like to do is, because of my friend Daryl, I like to use side spin to offset slope. That would be the easiest way to do it. Now, let me go back to the original problem. The original problem that you have is you don't like to use golf clubs that have loft. And so here's what I'm going to tell you when you are in that frame of mind. What I want you to do is I want you to use loft, but I don't want you to use your most lofted clubs. I want you to use a pitching wedge or your sand wedge. And then what I want you to do is I want you to take the club and I want you to dramatically whip it to the pull side here. So if I get in here with a pitching wedge and I go dramatically over to that side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit real cut shots. You can see how much that cut in the air. That ball that I hit right there with a pitching wedge, believe it or not, this pitching wedge is 46 degrees. Come on up to this front. I sliced across that like crazy. And my spin rate was higher than my 53-degree wedge, square-faced. It was up to 6,100. Remember, the other one was 5,200. So I took a pitching wedge, which shouldn't spin as much as my 53, but I open-faced it and sliced across it, chopped that like across that thing, created 1,200 RPMs of right spin, lifted my spin rate so that one there landed at about 24 and rolled out to 29. Almost identical amount of rollout, 15 feet, almost identical to what I had with the club that's got more loft on it by 7 degrees, because I took that face, opened it up, and then didn't do right across it. So I chopped that thing in half. Okay. So do that. Just do me a favor. Just experiment with that. Get a pitching wedge and just cut that thing across. Go ahead.
This one's from Billy. Do you have any different grip? Do you do anything different with your grip at setup? For me, I tend to use a putter grip for shots within 20 yards. Also, just curious, who did you pick for the Honda Classic? Was it Billy Horschel?
I love Billy. Billy, I love you. I love you. I know you're laughing right now. So here's what I would tell you. I only alter my grip to a putting grip when I'm trying to deaden a shot. I'll soften a shot. And when I do that, I take wrist hinge out. So let's go to a 2 here, Gibbsy. Yeah. So when I hold this like a putter grip and I go to here, I'm not going to have any wrist set, right? So here, hit that shot. It's a softer shot. And it's a softer shot because I'm not creating I'm taking some speed out of the club head, believe it or not, by taking some flick out of the hands. So I would only do that if I don't do that for 20-yard shots. I'll do that for a 10-yard shot. Maybe I've got something going on. It could be a lie thing. It could be a different type of shot I'm trying to play. But the long and short of it is no, I only do that when I've got shots that are a little bit closer to me, or if I'm hitting a running shot. Anytime I'm hitting a running shot, like a low shot with a 8-iron or a 7-iron, then what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up going to a 7-iron, gripping it like this, and then hitting my shot that way. I only alter the grip to try to take wrist set out of my short shot. Okay, Billy, I love you. Okay, go.
This one's from Andrew in New York. I'm a 2-wedge player, 54 and 58.
Okay.
For me, that keeps things simple and straightforward. My gap wedge, 50 degrees, is part of my iron set. So that means really a 4-wedge player. Do you believe that more or fewer wedge options are better?
I think that most of you struggle with partial shots. I think most of you struggle with partial shots. And so I would rather have you have more wedges than less wedges. Second thing is that when you have more wedges, you have more options. And so you're going to miss greens. You're just going to miss greens. If you have a great day, you're going to hit half as many greens as there are available. So you'll hit 9 of 18 greens. And that's a great day. On most days, it's somewhere under 5 for most of you, which let's just assume that it is under 5. Let's assume it's 4. That means you have 4 greens that you get to putt for birdie, and you have 14 greens where you have to hit some sort of a wedge shot. And so when I think about this from a logical standpoint, and you don't get to practice a whole lot, and certainly when you practice, you're not practicing with the ball that you're playing with. I mean, just think about this for a second. You go out to practice. You're not practicing partial wedge shots. You just don't do it. You might not even have access to a green that you can hit partial wedge shots to. You're hitting these golf balls that are not the golf balls that you're playing. So you have no predictability in how far is that thing going? How far is it rolling out? What's the spin? All the things that I have access to, you don't have access to. So why would I then ask you to figure out what your partial wedges are? And I want you to figure them out. I want you to figure out, and I'm going to help you with that in just a second here. But my point is that you're not even using the golf ball that you play with when you practice that stuff. So you don't have the certainty that a touring professional has, because they're out there. They've got a launch monitor with them. They're making a swing with the golf ball they play with. They know exactly how far that thing went because they've got a yardage finder and they've got a caddy out there, and they're going, okay, that flew 47. You don't have that. And so add more wedges. And when you add more wedges, you don't have to alter as many swings, and you've got a better chance of hitting a shot that can end up closer. You've got whereabouts. You got thereabouts. Okay, I hit my pitching wedge. It goes 100 yards, and my 50-degree wedge goes about 90 yards, and I've got my 54-degree wedge that goes about 80 yards, and I've got my 58-degree wedge that goes about 70 yards. And all of a sudden, you've got pretty much everything covered from 70 to 100. And then when you start going in, now I could take that wedge and I could make a partial swing or figure out how to take distance out of that, which is one of the things that I'm going to get to. So let me get to that. I hope that answered the question for you, Andrew. Add more wedges. Don't take out wedges. Okay. Now, Greg, do me a favor and give me a 70-yard shot. Okay. In fact, if you want, can you bring me over to the range, the wedge range, and see if we can find a 70-yard shot there? This is the coolest thing about golf. Greg can literally go to this range, which is a range that I, along with About Golf, developed. And we've got a lot of different options. How far is that?
That's shot? 73.
So I've got a 73-yard shot. Now, as I said before, my 58-degree sand wedge goes about 95 yards. So 73 is definitely an in-between club for me. So stand up here. I've got a bunker that I have to go over here. I need 73 yards out of this shot. And so I do what I think is 73, and which is what you do, and it goes into the bunker. And you go, man, I 73. I should be putting for birdie. And now I got an impossible up and down. I've short-sighted myself, and you make a double or a triple bogey. Now, here's what you're going to do. Glove comes off because the gloves are off now, okay? Gloves are off. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to get a piece of tape, white tape, okay? You're going to rip a piece off, and instead of having a shaft label with your name on it. Like you put your name on your golf club, thinking that if you leave your club at your golf course, that somebody's going to return it. But raise your hand if they've ever returned it. Okay, there's always a couple. But the point is that most of the times you leave your wedge, you ain't getting it back. It's just not going to happen. So don't worry about having a shaft label on there because you're not getting it back anyway. But what you do is you take this tape and you put it on the shaft label. I mean, on the shaft like this. Spin it around. Now, so there's that. Now, give me a 5, but give me, I just want to show the shaft, so handle to the club head here. So peel the 5 down. There you go. Perfect. Now, you see the club head? You see the face of the club is square there? Now, what I like to do is I like to take the club face. I like to open that club face up. It's about, I look at it like somewhere between 2 and 4 degrees. And then what I do when the club's in that position is I draw a line that comes right up the shaft like this. So you can see that line. Zoom in on that if you could, Gibbsy. So you see that line right there? That's great. Beautiful. Now it's in focus even better. So now I have a shaft that has a blue line on it like that. When I set the club face where it's square, that line is now on the left side of the center line of the shaft. And when I put it back to where it's open, now it's in the center of the shaft there. Now, remember I told you I had a bad knee. I'm literally, if there's any doctors in here, particularly surgeons, this meniscus thing, you're supposed to be able to heal from it quickly, but not in a week. So you're just going to forgive me here. I'm going to do my best, but I'm going to try to alter this so that I don't mess my knee up here. So what I do is I take that so that blue line is pointing up to the center of my body. Okay. So my 58-degree wedge now is about 60 to 61 degrees. It may be even a little bit more than that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this pretty full. And when I hit that pretty full, now all of a sudden I hit a shot. That ball, I was trying to hit it 70 yards. That ball flew 69 and a half. Fantastic. And that was a total like lean on my right side, so I don't have to transfer my weight. So, but here's my point. You struggle with these in-between clubs because what you try to do, and by the way, not for nothing, if you look at that ball didn't curve a whole lot. That's a pretty straight shot. Yeah, show them that there. That's a pretty straight shot because wedges aren't going to spin a whole lot on side spin. They're going to spin a whole lot on back spin, but they're not going to spin a whole lot on side spin. And if they do have a lot of side spin, the spin ratio is still going to be low because the back spin is so much. So that one there, I hit that one. It had right side spin of 250 RPMs. The back spin, though, was 1,100. That's why that ball spun back to me. And so what happens is that you can take this, not worry about slicing the shot. It's not like a 6-iron. That would slice with a 6-iron. But with my lob wedge, it's not going to slice a whole lot. It's going to have a little bit of right movement, but it's not a lot. But what I did was I took a 58-degree wedge and I made it into a 61-degree wedge. And when I hit a 61-degree wedge full, I get 70 yards out of the shot. And now I have predictability. So what I would advise you to do is do this with your wedges. Take all of your wedges, set the thing, get the white tape on there, set it open, draw a line, and hit it. Just hit it. Don't worry about take it back to here and follow through to here. And like all that stuff that I've been telling you about to do for years and years and years, and I'm still going to tell you to do because it's still a valuable option, but don't do it. What you're going to do is you're going to put this on here and you're make a bunch of full swings. And what you're going to find is that now you actually are able to control the in-betweens. Now, with a 58, I'm going to spin it open 3 degrees, 4 degrees. I don't really care how much I spin it open because if I know how much this or how far, let's just say I'm 95 and when I hit this full, it goes 75. I know now all I got to do is just have it a little left of center and I'm going to get 85 out of it with a full swing. So you'll build in these incremental distances or alterations to distance that the wedge can provide for you where you're still making a full swing. And then you know what happens? You're confident. So do that with all your wedges. If I did that, I'm going to have a little fun here, Gregory. I'm going to hit a pitching wedge. It's going to go a little farther, so don't worry about changing it. But all I want to do is show how much this isn't going to curve. Remember, I told you before that this is about 135. Now I'm setting up so I don't hurt myself here, okay? So I'm not telling you to set up with your lead leg like this, but I'm trying to just make a swing here. My club face is set up fairly open, much the same way. Now I'm going to hit this. Now, wait for that ball, by the way, went 105 yards. Okay. Normally 135. I took some yardage out of it. Probably wasn't my normal full swing, but look at how straight that thing went. That might even had a little draw to it. But the point is that I had a lot less or a lot more loft on that club when it came through the strike, and therefore it's not going to go as far. So, and you don't have to worry about slicing it. These high lofted clubs aren't going to slice the ball a lot. Okay. All right, go ahead.
This one's from Jeff in a similar distance range, if that's okay. Many times I blade or skull an 80 to 90 yard wedge shot right over the green. What should I do?
Okay. So just ask, I'm just going to ask real quickly, when you hit these shots, what wedge are you using? I'm going to give him time to answer that. It's Jeff?
Jeff.
Okay, yeah. So Jeff, let me know what you're hitting that shot with, and then I'll explain this to you, how you're going to do this. Okay. So you're hitting an 80 or 90 yard shot and you tend to blade it. So that means that there's not a lot of confidence that's going on here. Okay. So what I like to do again is I'm telling you 95% of the shots that I hit with my wedges, I'm open faced. So this is a 53 degree wedge that I'm opening up. Has he gotten back to you with that? Okay. So I'm opening that thing up. Now, when I do this, this club for me is about 110, 115. So I'm taking quite a bit out of this. I'm trying to avoid hitting this thin. So the way you hit this thin is your chest rides out of the shot, the club bottoms out too far behind the ball, and you end up catching it on the upswing and you get thin and it goes over the green. So what I like to do is when I'm hitting this, one, I like to set my weight a little bit forward. Two, in a camera one shot, I like to stand a little bit closer to the ball. So my weight's a little forward. I'm a little bit closer to the ball, which is going to help create a steeper angle of attack. And then finally, what I want to pay attention to is my chest. I want to feel like when I swing this club through, my chest is down to the ground here. It's rotating, but it's facing down to the ground. So I've got a club that's got plenty of distance, back and close. And now my chest stays down into the shot and I trap it out. Now, here's what you need to appreciate. One, that thing only went 76 yards. I'm not going to make a hard swing on that because I don't want to. In order for you to get out of thin, you have to have your chest down to the ground and forward like this, okay? I'm not doing that with my knee. I'm sorry. But you get the point. If you take your chest and it rotates through and it's still down to the ground, you're going to be in fine shape. It's thin when it's up into the air. So stand closer, move your weight forward, open up your club face with a club that's got too much power for your distance, and then come through with that chest down to the ground and you'll flight it down, you'll hit it solidly, and you'll get it to go the correct distance.
Next up from Mickey, when using wedges, when are you using the bounce compared to using the leading edge?
When hitting wedges, when am I using the bounce as opposed to using the leading edge? So, you want to go over to this one here, Gibbsy? Okay. So I would say this. The large majority of the time I'm using the bounce. The large majority of the time I'm using the bounce. But what I'm also doing is I'm using the flange. So I'm using this part as well as this part here. So I'm using this. But what I try to do when I open up the club face and I go like that, I now have it from its backmost point to its forwardmost point, and all of a sudden the flange has gotten a little bit wider, and that helps with the glide. So what I'm doing here is this. When I come into this and I have my shot with my wedge, when I'm open-faced, I'm not trying to use the bounce. I'm trying to use the glide. And the glide is the combination of the bounce and the flange, the sole. So coming in here with that club face open, I'm really not trying to hit it fat. I don't want to hit it. I'm not trying to hit the ground before the ball. I'm trying to hit the ball first, but I want the club to glide along the ground just in case. So I would say, 95% of the time, there's a rare time I'm trying to use the leading edge. I'll use the leading edge if the ball is sitting down in very thick rough. I want to use the leading edge. I want it to dig down there. Or if I have a shot where I'm trying to chop it, now I'm trying to use the leading edge, much the same way as if you have a plugged lie in a bunker. That's when you'll use the leading edge.
To that point, from Justin, are there any good drills for learning how to use the bounce? I struggle trying to use the bounce on pitch shots and in the bunker, usually digging in with the leading edge.
So there's a couple things that I would tell you to do, but the first thing that I would tell you is, and the primary thing that I would tell you is, you can't be afraid to let the club hit the ground. The second thing is that the reason why you're going to struggle with this bounce stuff or leading edge stuff is honestly because you don't have any width in your swing. So when you're hitting a short shot like this, if I steepen this club, the leading edge or the bounce, you're going to think about them a lot. I call it heavy. The ground will feel heavy. So the ground feels heavy or it feels light. If the ground feels heavy, the club is coming into the ground too steeply, and the ground's going to get heavy. To lighten it, you need width. So what I like to do when I'm trying to create width, and you'll call it bounce, which is fine, is I like to do this drill where it's just a one-hand drill, trail hand, and I'm going to swing the club. Now, what happens when you do this, and if you watch me hit this shot, I will not bend my trail arm. And narrowness in a swing is when handles are close to chests, and width in a swing is when handles are far from chests. So if I do a one-armed swing like this, my club can't get any wider. I take this back. You can see the head of the golf club is in the screen back there. If I put both hands on and go like this, I can't get it into the screen because this arm here is still holding onto the handle. So when I have this, now I can get out there, but I can't do that with that. That's got to come back here like that. So what you do is you just hit one-armed shots. And what you're going to hear, just hear, listen to this. Versus, hear how loud that is? That's what I call heavy. So this is light. This is heavy. Big difference. The other thing you'll notice is that the club, the reason why I call it light and heavy is because when you have width, the club is kind of splashing off the ground. It's into the ground for a short period of time. When you have steepness, you're going to see really long divots, okay? And if you're in bunker, by the way, if you're in sand, look at the length of the divot, the length of the splash. And if you see these, you're steep. And if you see these, you're fine. So you take this, let this swing one-armed. I'm not trying to hit it 30 yards. And all I'm doing is I'm swinging along. Now, what you might hear when that happens is you might hear two sounds. That would be the club hitting the ground, and then that would be the club hitting the ball. So it's like, I'll do it again. Hear that? That's two sounds. Okay? Hear it again. That's two sounds. Now, as you've created that width, now you feel width. Now your lead hand is on, and now you get one sound and one sound at a target. So that's what I would tell you. Do that one-arm drill. That'll help you out with that. Go ahead.
This one from Mark. What drills can we do in a garage to work on short game without a simulator?
Mark. So we don't have a simulator, but we can hit shots, correct? Okay. Couple little different things that you can do. One of the things that you can do is get yourself a gear tie. Okay. I've shown you these gear ties And I'm telling you, it's the best, cheapest, most important, most valuable instructional device that you can get for yourself. Okay. So you get a gear tie. Now, gear ties can bend. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this gear tie, you're going to give yourself about 6 inches like that, and you're going to create that like that. Okay. See that there? Now, what I'm going to do with my gear tie, I'm going to put my gear tie on the ground like this. Okay. Now I'm going to bring a ball in here. So to be really good in short game, let me move this back just a bit. So I'm going to go here. To be really good in short game, what you have to be able to do when we're not talking about face down, just talking about path, what we have to be able to do is we have to be able to control the path that the club is on and the strike point. So what you can see here is, and Gibbsy, I don't know if you've got a 7 close-up that you could get. Brilliant. So what I do with this is going to help me when I have the club coming down in here. It's in this pathway. And then also, too, if you have a close-up on a 5, perfect. So now what it's also telling me is that, okay, now I got to make sure I miss that when I hit this. So I'm coming into the shot, and I'm trying to get the low point to happen. And you can see when I brush that, my low point is up there. So now I get in here like this, and now I'm able to hit that shot, and I don't hit that gear tie, okay? When you're able to get the club in the path and bottom out where you want, now all of a sudden you've got a chance. Now, what I like to do is I like to start with as wide a gap from the ball to the back end of the gear tie here. So if you go down to that 5 again, I like to start with a lot of space. Eventually, what I want you to do is I want you to get to where you've got 1 club head. So that would be right in about there. Now, you'll start to freak out when you get it. I'm telling you, you're going to start to shake. You're going to go, wait a minute. Oh, I can't do that. Yes, you can. You can do that. You just got to tell yourself you can do that. And so then you get in here. Now, I know all of you were sitting there going, is he going to hit it? Can he do it? So what we're going to do is you're still focusing on that low point. So in here like this. Look, Mom, I did it. No hands. That's how you're going to practice if you don't have a simulator. That's controlling the path, controlling the low point is going to improve your short game. Get that gear tie. I'm telling you, I would be stunned if they cost $3 a gear tie. Stunned. Just go over to one of those home stores, Home Depot or Lowe's, and just look around. Just say, hey, do you have a gear tie? And they're going to go, yeah, we got one right here. Just there you go. They're $3, and they probably come in a lot of, like, the small ones you don't need. Get yourself this one here. Hey, Gibbsy, will you do me a favor? Just reach down there and get me one of those measuring implements. That's right. No, you're in the wrong spot. Yeah, right there. Yeah, just give me one of those things. Beautiful. Terrific. Okay. This one is
nice throw.
18. So it's 1.5 feet. Here you go. Coming back at you, Gibbers. So this is 1.5 feet. Nice. They'll come in 2 feet and 3 feet. And what I would tell you is if you do that 1.5 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet, it's fine. Okay. Really fun question. That's a really fun question. I hope you guys are getting a lot out of this. And here's the other thing. And we're gonna stop down here we'll do this for about 10 more minutes. But here's what I'm gonna ask you to do. Do me a favor. You all know how much I love helping people out. It's my passion. If I see somebody on the side of the road, flat tire, I'm probably pulling over. I can remember a time when I was driving my car. I was going from Georgia to Connecticut. There was a woman, an elderly woman cutting her grass. I pulled my car over and I cut the grass for her. And she gave me some of that great sweet tea that you can only get down there in Georgia. But my point is, I love helping you all to get better. I love it when you listen to it. I love the questions you say. I love all of it. I love it. Because this is what, I am gifted with a choice job. And so I love being able to give back. I'm selfish that way. It makes me feel good to help you out. So let me feel good. Allow me to be selfish and help you out. But tell people about what we're doing here on this. I want to have a big, huge party. My dream is to have one day there's 30,000 people on this call, and the questions are coming in like crazy. All right, now, please just tell people about us. This is what we got going on. All right, Greg, give me an update as to what's going on out on the PGA Tour, and then we'll get to some more questions.
Okay. On top of the leaderboard, Daniel Berger has a 3-shot lead. He's in for the day. He shot 65 again today. So back-to-back 65s. He's at 10 under par, 3 shots ahead of Chris Kirk, who shot 65, 68 in his opening 2 rounds. He's at 7 under and in the clubhouse. Kurt Kitayama is 6 under. He hasn't gone yet. Chase Seifert is 4 under through 15. He's at 5 under with Rory Sabatini, also 5 under. And then we got Peter Uihlein, Aaron Rye. They're at 4 under. Nick Watney, who we were talking about this morning, he's at 2 under. 2 under par right now is tied 11th.
What's the cut look like it's going to be? Is it going to get to +2?
It has a chance to get to +2.
What's
plus
the number
two right now is T69.
+2 is T69.
Yep.
So it's gotten better because in the last hour, it was at 72. So the golf course is playing hard today.
Yeah, it's definitely
where's Sung Jae Im?
In the clubhouse, and I hate to inform you, and this hurts me too. He's 4 over.
He's 4 over.
Yeah.
It ain't getting a 4 over.
Nope. He's slamming
hate
the
when
trunk.
that happens. Okay, let's do this. Let's get back to making me feel good, and let's start. Give me some questions.
Okay.
Okay.
This one's from Jim. There are actually a couple questions on the same topic. I'm going to read the one from Jim. There are many bounces on wedges. What's the difference between bounces? Why would I use a W bounce over an S bounce, which is grinds as well?
So basically, what the question is why, like when I make my decision on bounce, what are the things that go into that? So there's a couple of things that go into that. One of the things that goes into that is the where you play in the country. So if you play and you're in Arizona versus playing up in the Northeast or playing down in Florida, those soil differences are going to create different needs for bounce, right? The other thing is that what type of swing you have. If you're a swing that's a steep swinger, so 2 again, Gibbsy. If you're a steep swinger, I need a little more bounce, and if I'm a shallow swinger, I don't need as much bounce. The other thing is which wedge. So, for instance, on my 58-degree wedge, I have a 60-degree wedge that I bend to 58 because the 60 has 14 degrees of bounce and I like 12 degrees of bounce. So I get my man Aaron Dill at Vokey Wedges. And if you want to learn anything about wedges, just follow Aaron Dill, Vokey Wedge Rep, who just got married, by the way. So congratulations, Aaron. We're proud of you, my man. But he takes my 60-degree wedge and he bends it to 58, so I have 12 degrees of bounce on it, but it's got a wide sole, so the effective bounce is a lot higher than that. I like the sole and that's what I use for my bunker play, so I'm very comfortable with that. My 53 it's 54, but I bend some loft out, so this starts with 10, and by the time I'm done bending that, I bend that 1 degree out. And it's not a 1-to-1 ratio, but it basically plays at about 9, so 9 to 10. And then my 46 is it's 8 degrees. So I have 8 degrees of bounce in that, 10 degrees of bounce in my 53, and 12 degrees of bounce in my 58. But the other thing that you need to remember too is that when you start doing this, it's the sole makeup that's a big part of this, and also too, opening up the wedge. So I'm a guy that I add bounce to my wedges when I open up the club face. So even though the number says 10, I might play at 12. And so what I will tell you is that if you're confused by all that, simple way to remember this is this. You probably need more bounce. You're better off. I would rather have you with 10 than 8, better with 12 than 10. And I don't want you any more than 14, which is fortunately what Titleist has done. But I like that somewhere between, say, 10 and 14. That would be my preference. And if I'm using bunker shots, I want to have at least 10 and preferably 12. Okay? And I'll tell you something else, by the way. A number of years ago, David Duval, he had 16 degrees of bounce on his 56 degree and 14 degrees of bounce on his 16 to bounce on his 56 and 60 on his full timeout. Here we go again. 16 degrees of bounce on his 56 and 14 degrees of bounce on his 60. I did it. Okay, go.
Just a comment I got to read here from Justin. You answered his question earlier.
Yeah.
He says, thank you both for your very hard work. Word of the day today.
Nice job. Well done.
So thanks for listening, Justin. But also a question from Frank. What's the secret to those low flighted spinny wedge shots?
Okay. So the secret to that is the following. One, open up the face. Remember, I told you before, don't think opening the face is going to necessarily throw the ball up into the air. Two, standing a little bit closer to it is going to steepen this. And then three, control the face. Don't let that face flip over. So when I'm coming through this on this shot, I'm going to hit a low little, I'm opening that club face. I'm going to abbreviate the follow through and I'm going to swing this thing to the left. And what that will do is that will take that one bounce and stop. Now, I'll go back to what we were talking about before. So let's come on over here. When I'm hitting that shot, now I'm not trying to hit that to 30 yards. I'm just trying to hit that shot. So please understand that. That ball there flew 40 yards, 39 and a half yards, and it stopped at 41.7. It launched under 30. That launched at 28.6. Call it 29. So it's under 30. Anytime that thing's under 30, that's coming in there low, like this. The apex of that shot was 20 feet, 19 feet, not very tall. Imagine two basketball rims on top of one another, and that's going 40 yards. It's not high at all. But that had 6,200, 6,160 RPMs of backspin. Look at the side spin, 1346. That's your side spin, 1346 right there. That side spin is actually giving you backspin. So if you look at that shot, and if you can pull it full, Gibbsy, when you look at that shot, you can see it has a little bit of cut. And I'm one of those players that likes to have a little bit of cut on those shorter shots when I'm trying to create some stopping power. I've got a shot that I got to flight down. It's got to hit the brakes soon. Like Mav, I'm going to hit the brakes and they're going to fly on by. That's what I'm doing. So get in there close, open up that face, shut that follow through down, and make sure you keep that club face open, and you'll get some added spin, and you'll hit that one hop and stop. Go ahead.
Okay, this one is from Randy Thomas. Do you determine your wedge gaps with your full swing, not from your chipping? 52, 53, how you bend them, things like that.
Yeah, 100%. So if I'm gapping out my clubs, which I do all the time, I do this every year. This is a natural thing for me. When I'm gapping them out, what I will do is this. I always go to my 9-iron, and I hit my 9-iron. My 9-iron has been a 145 club for I don't even know how many years. And then I take my pitching wedge and I hit my pitching wedge. And when my pitching wedge goes 135, so I'm 145 on the 9. I want my pitching wedge to go 135. That's whatever that loft is. That's I use my pitching wedge that way. And then what I'll do is I now want 20 yards difference at this point. Remember, I said to you before, I'm going to experiment with a 50. But what I do is I want 20-yard gap between that pitching wedge and that next wedge, which is how I ended up with 53. And then I want 20 yards between that thing and the other one, which is how I ended up with the 58. Now, that's the first way that I do that, the gapping out. The next way that I do it is I go and I figure out what club I want out of the bunker. So when I was doing all my other stuff and I went, okay, I was a 56 wedge player all through my career. And then when I really started to understand about the gapping of wedges, I found out, well, I need a 58. So can I play a 54 out of the bunker? No, I had no success with that. So I went, okay, let me see a 58. So I went to 58 and the 60 was too much for me. I didn't like it. So I got the 58. So now I know I'm going to have a 58. Now, what's going to allow me to be able to hit this ball as far as I can? What are the things that I'm doing to be able to make that gap work? And if I'd have had to, I'd have gone to 57. I'd have taken the 58. I would have gotten a 58 and I'd have bent it to 57, or take a 56 and added a degree or two. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get into this. But the point is you gap it out with full swing, and then you get to the club that you're going to use with your sand wedge, and you figure out, do I like 56? Do I like 58? What can work? That's how you do that. Time for one more question here, Gregory.
This from Mickey. Where is your body lined up when you're opening your wedge?
So this is a really interesting question, Mickey. Fantastic work. So where am I lining up my body? Where am I lining up to hit the shot? And the answer is, it's not that easy. It's because you have to factor in the distance of the shot and also the terrain of where the green is. So if I want to putt, if it's uphill on the left-hand side of that, then I'm going to aim left of left because I want to putt from the left. If I have to hit it in the hole, well, now I'm going to aim marginally left. But I'm trying to get this up and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my shot. It's going to have a little bit of curve to it. I'm going to aim a little bit to the left and hit my little cutter, put my one stop on there. And all of a sudden, I know that thing is going to hit. It's going to kick right. The ground is going to move it. And now I'm putting up the hill from the left to the right. So it depends on what the terrain is around there. And then it depends on the length of the shot. If I have a short shot, right, I'm hitting a short little chip shot here, and I've got the face open, I'm going to get a slight deflection. So if I have let's say it's a 20-yard shot. If I have a 20-yard shot here, I'm going to hit that shot. I'm probably going to aim slightly left, maybe a foot, depending upon, the break around the green, because I'm going to get a little bit more roll when I hit a shorter shot. 20 yards. So that's pretty good. I hit that 15. So that thing flew in the air 15, rolled out to 20. The ball rolled out, 6 yards, 5 yards. It rolled out 5 or 6 yards. So you're talking about 15 to 18 feet of roll. So how much is it going to break in 15 or 18 feet? And then again, where do I want to putt from? If I want to putt from the left side of the hole, I know many of you think about proximity to the hole as an important thing. I don't think about that. What I think about is I want to have a putt that's uphill, or I want to have a putt that breaks right to left. So that's what I'm strategizing the leave, what I call the leave. Where is my ball left so that I can play my next shot? So I'm strategizing the leave in a normal situation. If I'm playing with a couple of friends and we've got a match going on and my partner's in with a 4 and I'm chipping for a 3, I'm trying to make it different. So there's no absolute like aim here, aim here. It's situational and it's what's going on around the green. All right. Now, first of all, I would be remiss if I didn't. If you can, hey, Gibbsy, just take an 8 on Greg and then pull it wide so that you can get your face in there. Everybody needs to understand who really is running all this stuff. There's Steve Gibbs and there's Greg Ducharme. Those guys work tirelessly for us as we do what we do in here, and we're very, very grateful for that. We're grateful for you all watching. We ask you, as I said earlier, please let your friends know about what we're doing. And please do your best to try to join us when we do this. We are trying to find the right time. So if we can, next Friday, we're going to try to move it a little bit earlier to 11 o'clock. Unless you guys say, no, Michael, this time is perfect, then we'll do it at noon. But what we found is if we do it a little bit too late, we lose some people on the East Coast. People on the West Coast are fine. So we've moved it to this 12 o'clock spot. We're going to try to move it to 11 o'clock. So please let us know your thoughts on what we're doing. And as well, send those emails about topics. What do you want to talk about? Because your ideas are our ideas. So give us your ideas. Let me know what you want to discuss. There's a never-ending supply of information in the golf space to talk about. And so certainly we can do that. But that email address is anewbreedofgolf@michaelbreed.com. Remember, we've got those poker chips. If you're interested in getting the poker chips, they're $6. It's a PayPal. We have them in green and blue. Also, too, make sure you become part of our community. And let's find the greatest logo in golf. So jump over to Twitter, follow me there at Michael Breed, and vote every single day for probably the next, I'm going to say 50 or so days leading right up into March Madness. We're going to find the best logo in the world. And we've done a lot of work trying to get these different clubs and courses to send these ball markers to us. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I appreciate so much you joining us here. And any questions, any comments, anything you want to share with us, a new breed of golf at michaelbreed.com. Have a wonderful weekend.